Since 2003, this is The Sports Source with your host, John Pennington.
The Sports Source is presented by Junk Be Gone, Pipe Wrench, and the Garza Law Firm.
The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into the Junk Be Gone studios for the Sports Source. We are here on this eve of St. Patrick's Day to discuss a good Saturday for your Tennessee Volunteers. The Vols knock off number one seed Auburn in the SEC tournament. Rick Barnes knocks off Bruce Pearl. A number one seed is still at play, depending on who you listen to. You can listen to us a little bit later. We'll be discussing that. Also, we'll be talking a little bit about spring practice, but for the most part today, it's going to be all about the NCAA tournament and Tennessee's game coming up with Florida, what it means and what it can mean for the program moving forward. Let's get into this first segment of our show, brought to you by our friends at Junk Be Gone. Spring is almost here, as evidenced by last night's storms, and that means spring cleaning. Be sure to call Junk Be Gone this week or visit junkbegone.biz. I've used these people for so many times. Always an easy process, always a great price. I really believe in them. Mike Such and his team are good folks. Junkbegone.biz to learn more. All right. And when you want to learn more, you bring in these guys. We got right over here Jimmy Himes. We got Chuck Cavaleris. We got Will West. We got Bob Hodge. Thanks to all of you for being here. I always appreciate it. Tennessee knocks off Auburn yesterday, 70-65. Really good basketball game.
Yeah.
Just like the first one down at Auburn. These two teams very well evenly matched. You could tell that Bruce Pearl wanted it. He's going wild out there. But overall, start with your takeaways. Jimmy, I'll let you start, and we'll just kind of work around the panel here. Big takeaways from yesterday's win.
The big takeaway to me was how Tennessee hit its free throws. They were 25 of 27, and Auburn goes 13 out of 22. And you had Zakai Ziegler, who'd been struggling at the free throw line the last couple of games. He's 9 for 9. Gainey goes 8 for 8. And the other part of that numbers that really stood out, Tennessee outscored Auburn on the bench 25-3. Those are two huge differences in the game. But the free throw difference, to me, is what allowed Tennessee to win that game.
Yeah, especially when they were in the double bonus for a lot of it, right, for a big part of the second half. You know, I guess my big take, again, is Zakai Ziegler and how he just rallies the troops. You know, with about 5 minutes to go, Tennessee had gone up, 60-39, I believe it was.
Well, not 60-39.
Yeah.
They were about 12.
Yeah, about 12.
64-52.
But it's a game of runs. And Auburn come back, cut it to 2. And he says, guys, we've got this. We've been in tough situations before. We just need to stop. They got to stop, and Parra made the key play. He didn't score a point the whole game. But he had, 9 rebounds? I mean, and he set some of those screens again to help. So my take was, again, Tennessee's the senior guards, Gainey came up huge, and like Jimmy said, the free throws. That 25 of 27, you just don't expect a team to do that on a neutral court.
Free throws were the difference, but one thing I thought that Tennessee did very well was denying John Broome the ball. If you've watched what Auburn's done the last 2 or 3 weeks, everything is through John Broome. Tennessee made sure when he got the ball, it wasn't in a place that he was comfortable most of the time, or denied him the ball and somebody else had to drive and score. I also thought the officiating was bad. It was horrible. And also what was a foul at the 15-minute mark wasn't a foul at the 5-minute mark, became a foul again at the 92nd mark of each half. Tennessee did a good job of, okay, this is how you're going to call it. Well, I'm going to take advantage of that and get us to the free throw line. And they did that, and then they hit their free throws, and I thought that was pretty wise basketball. You could tell there were a lot of seniors on this team.
Yeah.
I really thought that what Tennessee defensively, I thought they were smart from the standpoint they denied him the ball, but he still had a really good game. The guy is a great basketball player. And I thought defensively, though, Tennessee made it tough, and that's where the officiating was uneven, but they let Tennessee play their style of basketball. And to me, going forward, I think that that's going to be very important when Tennessee goes down there. I mean, you got somebody in the lane, you got somebody behind him with his forearm, and he looks like a guard that's sitting there picking up a blitzer, shoving it in his back. Okay, that's what allowed them to push him out of position, make his shots harder, but he still made a lot of shots, and I'm sitting there going, wow, this kid's really good.
There's a reason he's the top player in the country.
But are you going to get a lot of fouls away from the ball going forward? And who knows, because officiating, like you said, it doesn't vary from game to game. It varies from minute to minute sometimes. But if Tennessee's allowed to play like that, I thought that the officials let Tennessee do what Tennessee does, and that's just being physical.
Regarding Broome, Tennessee, on a few possessions late in the game, they ran a double team at him.
Yeah, there was an adjustment there.
Yeah, they forced him to throw it to somebody else to make sure somebody else was going to beat him, and they didn't. I thought that was a good move by Tennessee.
I thought it was interesting. Neither team really hit their threes yesterday. You had Tennessee shot 26%, Auburn only 28%. That would have made a huge difference if either of those teams had gotten hot. Yeah. That would have really either broken that game open for Tennessee or probably put Auburn over the top. But neither team really hit their threes. Credit defense, I suppose. Credit the fact that it's basketball. Maybe they weren't hot. Let's talk about the elephant in the room whenever Barnes has to go up against Pearl is when you lose, It's like a double loss. All the Pearl people come out from under their rocks, and it's like, hey, why can't we bring him back? It was a great win for Rick Barnes. I mean, just for his sake to avoid ending another SEC. Now, here's the interesting thing. I think since they have been in the same conference, I'm not taking the Texas, Tennessee when they were at different schools, but I think Tennessee is now, I think Barnes is 7-9 against Pearl. He went on a streak to start, and then Pearl went on a long streak to beat him. Now it's kind of even back out. But in SEC tournament play, Pearl beat Tennessee in a finals, but Barnes has beaten him 2 out of 3 times when they've met in the SEC tournament. But I just think for Rick Barnes' sake, and we talked about it off air with Mark Pankratz last week. He's like, the worst case in the world is if you get in there and lose to Bruce Pearl again. So to me, it was just kind of if you have any compassion in your heart for Rick Barnes, it's like, oh, good for him that he didn't have to put up with that.
Didn't you think one of those, they showed it on the timeout, I thought it was kind of bizarre. Bruce Pearl is there telling the players, we've got to trust each other. I trust you. We need to trust each other. And I'm thinking, what's that about? I mean, where's some kind of coaching adjustment? And you could see in the looks in the players, like, what do you mean? We do trust each other.
You haven't trusted each other yet?
I know. It was just
Game 38.
It was just bizarre to me that's what you're doing in the huddle at a crucial point of the basketball game.
I thought it led to the point with Barnes. I thought that you don't feed the trolls whenever you beat Bruce. That's one thing that you do. But there's something kind of happened in the last few times that Rick Barnes has played Bruce, where Bruce starts slow. Bruce is a guy that plays in the 80s. He starts slowing it down and trying to beat Barnes at his own game. And he was able to do that down in the jungle when they had a week off. He was not able to do it yesterday. It was.
One shot from the corner, and he doesn't.
And he's playing in the 60s. So, and if you watch the Alabama game the week before, or any of the others, the 3 or 4 before that, that's not how they play. But for whatever reason, in the same way a team that shoots a lot of threes can bait Tennessee into shooting a lot of threes, for some of these guys, Rick Barnes seems to be able to bait them into getting down in the mud with him. And I thought he did that to Bruce yesterday when Bruce should have been pushing tempo the entire game.
Well, and that's what it goes back to the way Tennessee was playing. I think they would have sped it up if when they get it into Broome, he's got a cleaner, quicker look. Now, he got the ball sometimes, and you just knew he's going to shoot it regardless of what Tennessee does, regardless of what Auburn does. He's got the ball, he's working with it, and he's going to shoot it. And so I think Tennessee impacted that a little bit. I think Tennessee's defense slowed them down, and it wasn't just Bruce taking his foot off the gas. I think it was Tennessee making him work for the things he did get.
And I credit Rick Barnes for this because there's nothing, teams want to run. Players don't go out to rec leagues. They don't go out and play pickup games where it's, let's slowly bring this thing up court. Let's grind her down. Let's get in the mud. They want to run. They watch the NBA. So the fact that he consistently has teams that are willing to, or at least are on a tight enough leash to where they know we got to dial this thing down and get them to play in the mud with us, that's credit to him to be able to do that. And he got the win yesterday. We got a lot more to come in this show, but first I want to tell you about something we're going to do on the Sports Source Digital Network. Games and Things Tennessee bracket, the Tennessee bracket breakdown, or the break it breakdown. That'll be tomorrow. A bunch of us are going to go down to our studio tonight And we've got a giant wall printed up with the bracket on it. We're going to have a lot of conversation about this thing. So tomorrow you're going to see, I don't know, probably an hour, maybe a little bit more show. Just go to our YouTube channel. That's Sports Source Digital Network. And watch it on your television. You don't have to watch it on a computer. You don't have to watch it on your phone. You can if you want to. But, you know, this is just like Netflix or Hulu or any other app you've got on your television. Put YouTube on there and just go and watch it for free. The Tennessee Bracket Breakdown presented by Games and Things. We'll be taping that tonight. It goes up tomorrow as soon as I can get the thing put together. All right. When we come back, what are Joe Lunardi and Jerry Palm saying? Well, they're saying two different things, which is good for Tennessee in one case, bad in the other. Who's right? We'll discuss the bracket projections next. Come on back. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by A.G. Hines Company. Nudura Concrete Forms, exterior installation finish systems, manufactured stone. Just a few of the cutting-edge building materials available at A.G. Hines Company. Cost-efficient, energy-efficient, and easy to install. You can't beat any of that. Start your next building project where your great-grandpappy started his. That's A.G. Hines Company, been around for more than 100 years. That's a sign of good business right there. aghines.com to learn more. Okay, before we check out the updated bracket projections from Lunardi and Palm, let me just share that last night Lunardi said Florida had locked up the number 1 seed with their blowout win over Alabama. Jerry Palm has apparently said this morning that Tennessee-Florida is a battle for a 1 seed. I looked it up yesterday, and there is no official guideline from the selection committee, but at some point in the past, they have referenced the fact that if the resumes are comparable, what does comparable mean? I mean, we may look at it and say, Tennessee and Florida, that's comparable. Florida fans would look at it and go, that's not comparable, we're much better. But what is comparable? Said if they are comparable, then head-to-head matchups do matter. And, of course, this would be the rubber game in the series. So we'll see where all of that goes, and we'll debate whether Tennessee deserves a 1 seed if they beat Florida. That's coming up next. But right now, I just want to take a look at the projections from these guys and also tell you one more thing. In terms of that seeding stuff, Lunardi and Palm get a lot of credit for getting the teams right, and they do, because a lot of it's just math. I mean, half the field is automatic bids, so they're basically trying to figure out the next 35 teams. And it's really not a problem to pick 30 of those. So it's like trying to decide between 10 teams to get the other 5. So it's cool that they do it. It's not brain surgery. The other thing is they're not always right on the seeding. That's the thing. They'll be off quite a bit on seeding at times, so we shall see. At any rate, here's what they've got as of this morning. First, Joe Lunardi, the way he projects it for Tennessee, and we can react to this bracket. Overall, his number 1 seeds are Auburn, Duke, Houston, and he says Florida is locked in to San Francisco as the 4th number 1 already. He has Tennessee in the Midwest region. The number 1 seed there is Houston. He has the Vols playing Montana in the first round in Lexington, so I guess that's about the best you could do in terms of an easy drive for Vol fans. Montana in the first round, the second round. Hey, this is the problem of having 56 teams in a conference and 55 of them get in. Yeah. You could play Arkansas and John Calipari in the second round, or you get St. Mary's, a team that earlier this year the Athletics said this is the Cinderella. They're built to be the Cinderella in this year's tournament. Your thoughts on this projection, gentlemen? We'll just leave it up there for a second as we talk about it.
I think it's a great draw for Tennessee. You get to go to Lexington, then the next would be Indianapolis, right? So I think I would, if I'm a Tennessee fan, I certainly wouldn't mind being a 2 seed if I can get that bracket. I like it a lot.
I would have Tennessee in the Final Four there.
Yeah.
I would, because I think they can beat Houston, likes to play the same way Tennessee does with lesser players. Wisconsin likes to speed it up a little bit.
You've already beaten A&M.
You've already beaten A&M, and I think they don't look great right now with the way that they're playing. St. Mary's has kind of struggled and stumbled a little bit, especially when you got to the West Coast Conference Tournament. I think Tennessee's in the Final Four if that's your draw.
Well, I'll just say this. What kind of hell would it be for Kentucky fans if they're sitting there in the second round having to decide, do we pull for Tennessee or Calipari here?
Well, I think it'd be Tennessee. I think it'd be Tennessee.
I lived up there. That'd be a tough one. I don't know.
That is actually my preference.
You like this bracket?
That's what I would like to see Tennessee
It
get.
surprised me, guys, the way a lot of fans really want this number 1 seed. And to me, the bracket you get in is far more important than that.
Yes.
And that's why I agree with you. I really would like that better than to be a number 1 seed, and you have a much tougher draw. But
The fans that want a
but I
1 seed are
understand
saying
why the
because
fans
Tennessee
are
never been a 1 seed.
saying what they want. They want the number 1 seed. You've never had it.
You've never had it,
And
yeah.
anytime it's something that your school, your team has
Right.
never done, you want it. So yes, even though that is my preference, what we just showed.
Yeah.
But I can understand totally why Tennessee fans want that number 1 seed.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you win the game today, you don't want to see that, but I'd still like the number 2 seed. You're
Yeah.
there, it's for the taking, get it. But I'm closer to Chuck in terms of what good does it mean? I mean, it's a little like the SEC tournament. For everybody that's fired up about winning the tournament, where did that get you a couple of years ago when you then turned around and lost the NCAA tournament? I don't remember anybody saying, I don't care. We won the SEC tournament. No, it was rage and anger. And if you get a 1 seed, you're
Yeah.
out in the Sweet 16 or Elite 8, there's still going to be rage and anger. The 1 seed doesn't mean much to me, but I see why people want it. Let's take a look at what Jerry Palm had this morning. And again, he has suggested this game today is for that last number 1 seed in the West region. He has the exact same 4 as your top seeds in the tournament right now. He has Tennessee also in the Midwest, also with Houston, also with Wisconsin and Texas A&M there. But the difference in Lexington, the only difference is who you've got playing there. He's got Tennessee versus Wofford in the first round, and in the second round it could be Baylor or Mississippi State. Instead of Arkansas, you get another SEC team, Mississippi State. Thoughts about this bracket, gentlemen? I'll start on this side.
You've beaten both of those teams that are in the 7-10 game. So why in the world wouldn't you? Again, I would have Tennessee in the Final Four based on this. If you say those are the 4 that are going to be the top 4 seeds, and then I'm getting teams like Baylor, Mississippi State, Arkansas, St. Mary's is a little concerning. Yeah, I feel
it's a tournament.
really good.
But you've seen it's not always with the seeding.
Well,
I
it's,
mean,
it's
I
not,
don't think it's
but
a lock.
the
because I'm looking at that.
matchups are a problem, right? Anybody who wants to go super fast, that their coach
you
is
don't have
not
that.
going to slow it down, you don't deal with that. You deal with a bunch of guys that want to do the same thing you do, and you have better players than they do.
I get that.
And your coach is better at that stuff.
Yeah, that's the difference between you and me. You're more of the, it's a lock. Look at that.
I don't know if it's a lot, but I would say I can't. There's nothing I can point to that tells me that Tennessee
I wouldn't want to play
isn't ahead of Houston, Wisconsin, A&M.
Well, this is a question I've asked Mark Pancratz before, and it's different coaches. Different coaches have different takes on it. I don't know how big I am on playing teams that have already seen me once. Now you've already seen them.
see, Baylor was so long ago. That was in the Bahamas, right?
Florida saw Tennessee and beat them by 30
Yeah.
And then Tennessee came back and beat them by 20.
without Ziegler and Milicic.
Yeah.
So that bracket I like a lot too. I don't see a whole lot of difference in that one and the one previously. Do you think St. Mary's is better than Mississippi State?
Yeah, it's basically.
So that would be one of the arguments. But I'm not in Will's camp about Tennessee just going to whip Houston. I think Houston's really good. I think if I had to pick right now, I'd take Houston in the Final Four.
I don't believe they'll get there because their coach always loses early because he likes to play at an even slower rate than Tennessee does.
But you also are
Who
going
else
to talk about
loses?
Rick Barnes does too, but this guy is.
I mean, Kelvin Sampson and Rick Barnes.
Sampson's a different. He's a different level of slowing it down in an era where you don't. Again, Barnes' Achilles heel is that he tries to slow it down too much.
Well,
but Kelvin Sampson does a slower pace than Tennessee.
That wasn't his Achilles heel at Texas. He still just didn't win the tournament
He
games
did
in
not.
Texas.
He did not.
He just.
Way
He's
too
not,
guarded.
he's not done great in the NCAA tournament. There's just no way around that. Just a statement of fact. He's constantly getting upset in NCAA tournaments in Texas when he was all offense and at Tennessee when he's all defense.
I would say he never played in space, though. Like, even if he did go, he was willing to play in the 70s, but he never tried to play in the 80s. And so, to me, that's the thing that he needs to adjust to is it's play in space. If you score 65 and you win, cool. But you're trying to play in space. You're not trying to compact the floor.
What do you think of that bracket?
I like the bracket. I'm sitting there working through what Will just said because we went from space to 70s and 80s. You're talking point.
Yes.
Okay. I was sitting there thinking, what? Playing in the 70s? What are you talking about? Okay, now I get you. Sorry. I'm easily confused.
That's all right.
But no, I like the bracket, but I'm more with Jimmy. I think Tennessee has a good path through either one of the brackets that we just saw, but I don't think you take anything for granted because we've just seen the way that Tennessee can roll it back on itself.
Now, the question is, if you were a 1 seed in the West, if you went to the West and got the floor, who would be the 2 seed that would be stuck with you?
Florida?
Well, I think they're going to try and – I read where they're trying – well, no, you could have Florida in there, but it looks like they're trying to keep the SEC teams.
As much as you can.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
The top 4 Auburn, Tennessee, Alabama.
Oh, you don't want St.
They're all
John's.
going to be in 4 different areas.
Right.
You don't want St. John's, I don't think, as your 2 seed in that.
That's my question.
Yeah.
Is, who's
You
the
don't
number
want
2
St.
seed?
John's.
All right. But yeah, the SEC, any of these conferences, I actually read this morning, that with the expansion of the conferences, the committee is more than ever going to try and keep the top 4 teams in a conference in different regions. Now, you may find teams,
the top
6,
4. Yeah,
the top
okay.
4. So Alabama, Auburn, Florida, and Tennessee will all be going to different regions. At least that's what I read today that they said they were doing. We'll see.
So it could be Michigan State or St. John's, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, which Tom Izzo and Rick Pitino, 2 guys that would both
Wouldn't-
not be on my list of guys
No.
I would want to face.
But it
in
would really,
I
it'll
agree.
really get dicey, guys, if Tennessee does upset Florida today as a 4.5-point underdog, to me. Then that does force a decision.
Well, we'll get into that
I
next
know, we will.
Okay.
But
Are you teasing for the next segment, too?
Yeah, he's teasing for the next segment. Very good. Hey, let me
It's a
show you.
segue.
I just mentioned, in the last segment, I just mentioned our channel, the YouTube Digital Network. Let me tell you what we got here. Let me show you something. This is, it's a TV channel. That's what it is. It's the Knoxville Sports Network for you. If you like this show, it's a lot of the same people just giving you different shows. Now, we're starting a new program. I always hear, why don't you do more baseball? Okay, here's where you prove yourself. We are starting a new show. We're taping on Tuesday. It'll hopefully go up Tuesday night. Will Heflin, Andrew Lee, AJ Simcox. It's going to be called Hardball. It's all about UT baseball. You want a UT baseball show? There it is. It's on the Sports Source Digital Network, free on YouTube, anytime you want to watch it. Goes up on Tuesdays. On Wednesdays, we put up Premier, which is for you soccer fans out there. That's English Premier League and global soccer. We got a spring football show with Ollie Lane and Ryan Callahan. Once a week, we break down what has happened. We got a cool NFL draft board where everybody's name is on a little magnet. We got a lot of fun stuff there on the spring football show. Why don't you cover more with the Lady Vols? Well, why aren't you watching it? Lady Vol Focus, we got it right there. Wednesdays on the Sports Source Digital Network, Paige Dower doing that. Go check that out. Wild, Bob Hodge doing an outdoor show for you hunters and anglers out there. Wild goes up on Thursdays. Fridays, Action, that's sports gambling when he's back with us, but Tyler Ivins. And then Give Him 6, that's me and John Wilkerson. We usually bring in the third guest, going to be Bob this week, where we talk about UT history. So we got a lot of stuff, specials, shorts. We got a Knoxville Smoky show that's coming your way soon. That'll be on Mondays. And then the Saturday kickoff, we'll be back Saturday, April 6th, here on WATE 6, every Saturday, 11 to noon, and it's going to be the greatest hits of these types of shows. You helped me build this show, folks. Helped me build a channel that's just for you. I think East Tennesseans want it. Our subscriptions per month is insane. We've got we're closing in on 1,100 subscribers. We've only been doing this 2 months. Actually, it's less than 2 months. Get out there, check it out, watch for us. When we come back here on the Sports Source, can the Vols upset the Red Hot Gators? And would that be worthy, Chuck, of a number 1 seed? We'll let him talk next. Come on back. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by the River Cove Campground. If you're one of the millions of Americans who love to camp or love to RV, I've got a buddy who I never in my whole life expected him to be an RV guy. And man, his wife said, we're getting one. He's like, yes, honey. And now they are all over the place in their RV. They love it. And I've told them, you need to stay at River Cove Campground. Check it out, rivercovecampground.com. Now's the time to book a spot on the Little Pigeon River. And man, they got premium amenities like you wouldn't believe. Visit rivercovecampground.com to see all those amenities listed out for you. It's impressive. Uncle Jim's River Cove Campground. All right. We got a poll question for you today. I want to see what the early responses are on the computer. Woo! It's all in one direction. Wow! And the middle section has no single takers yet. All right, here's your question. What are your thoughts on Tennessee reaching the SEC final in the tournament? 86% of you say, always good to beat Bruce. 0% of you say, wasted energy if it's not for a number 1 seed. And 14% say, the SEC tournament is important. Hurrah. Okay. You know where I feel on that one. But play along with us. Take your smartphone, shoot it at that QR code, play along with us. And I will tell you this is the beauty of this show and the beauty of this audience. I spotted this on a show I watch out of Boston where they had this same kind of a QR code. And I've tracked down who did it and blah, 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 blah. And that company, I said, how are we doing in terms of the number of clicks? And they said, well, the Boston channel, and it's a national thing. I watched it on DirecTV. They said, the Boston thing that you found is that you guys get more clicks and response than Boston does. Cool. That's you. I said, you don't understand the passion of Tennessee fans. So go ahead, click along, play with us, and tell us what you think. What's your thoughts on Tennessee reaching the SEC final? All right. Vols face Florida in about 90 minutes. Gators are on a roll, man. 5 wins in a row. They've scored 89 points or more in all of those games. We'll see if Rick Barnes can slow them down. He did here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They slowed him. What did they hold him to? 40-something points? 40 points?
44 or whatever.
Crazy. He's talking about Kevin O'Neal in between breaks and Kevin Sampson, man, 40 points. All right, so they've scored 89 in each of the last 5, 89 or more in each of the last 5 games. They whipped Missouri in the tournament, and then yesterday they put 104 points on Alabama and won by 22. This is one of the hottest teams in the country. On the season, Florida won in Gainesville by 30 over Tennessee. 2 weeks later, Tennessee beat them here by 20 without Ziegler, without Milicic. Will beating Florida be harder to pull off than yesterday's win over Auburn?
Yes. And I'll tell you why. I think Florida's a better team. Earlier in the season, I think Florida has a chance to win it all.
Auburn's lost 3 or 4.
Yeah. So Florida has the combination of guards and bigs that makes them so tough. And the way they can get up and down the floor, your defense may not have a chance to set up. I mean, I had them averaging 85. Tennessee averages 74. I checked. The line has gone up 1. It's now 5.5. I think this would be significantly tougher because I think it's a better offensive team.
Stylistically, I think it's tougher.
I think it's tougher, too, because, look, they exerted a lot of energy to beat Auburn and Bruce Pearl.
Point.
And I know that Florida had a big win against Alabama. I get that.
It was an easy win.
Yes, it was.
Great.
So I think the energy level is going to be hard to match. So I think, and also the fact that, okay, Tennessee lost by 30, then they won by 20. Now it's Florida's turn to strike revenge.
Is this going to be tougher than beating Auburn?
Yeah, that definitely is because they can beat you multiple ways, right? And they also go at a faster pace. So what's weird is with Florida, Tennessee's going to have to slow them down and also score more points. That's a tough combination because I think you got to feel like you score 75 to have a shot in this one. Can you do that and also hold Florida 15 points below what their scoring average is right now? Right. That's a tough task. It's doable. You did it against Alabama a couple weeks ago. Can you do that again, and can you do it on a neutral court? That's also going to be part of it.
You had the loss where you blew the lead late against Ole Miss. Other than that, you're closing pretty hot too. The win over Alabama, win over Auburn. I'm guessing Florida's not. Florida fans would be looking at this, seeing some danger in Tennessee as well. Bob, do you think this will be tougher than beating Auburn?
Yeah, Florida's got a lot of depth. I mean, they've got a lot more depth than Tennessee does. So being in the situation you're in Friday, Saturday, Sunday, does that depth start coming into play? And I also think it's a game where Tennessee needs to shoot well. You shoot well, Florida's got to throw it in. Your defense can get set up. If you're missing shots or making turnovers and Florida's just running, so I think it's going to come down. I mean, obviously, anytime you shoot well, you're better. But in this case, it's going to help your defense if you're not going down there jacking up the three. They get a rebound, and then they're down the other end.
And after yesterday, and people keep sending me this, he's playing the same number of guys he always plays, but the minutes are different. Yeah. He's playing more guys, more minutes this year, like he had prior to the last 2 seasons. Yeah. He had teams that would wear down. So it worries me that you had a tough game yesterday, a tight game. Yeah. You're going to be forced to run up and down, it looks like, and you don't have a deep team. I don't know if that all adds up well.
We talked about Florida. They got 44 points in Knoxville. And just off the top of my head, I think that Florida's trio of guards, who average about 43, 44 points, I think they scored 19 against Tennessee.
And had an injury in there, too.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
That was a key part of that.
I don't see their trio of guards being held to 19.
What does the whistle look like, too?
That's a good question.
That's going to be a big one because Tennessee, they really got an advantage yesterday against Auburn because of the quick whistle.
All right, so here's the deal. If Tennessee, well, let me go ahead and put up the graphic here. Let's compare Tennessee and Florida. As of right now, this is updated as of this morning. Tennessee in the net rankings is a 5, Florida's a 4. Ken Pomeroy has Florida as a 2, whereas Tennessee's a 5. Quad 1, Florida's got a little bit better record. Tennessee has one more win. So it's 11-6, 10-4. Quad 2, Florida's got the advantage. In terms of overall record, Florida's got the advantage. In terms of road victories and road record, Florida's got the advantage. Strength of schedule, Tennessee's got the advantage. If Tennessee beats Florida, quickly around the table, should they be a number 1 seed?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, they should. They won't, though.
Even if they win, they won't be.
I don't think they will. I think these people reporting that they're done yesterday, I think they're probably right. It's too many people. I hope it's wrong, but
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I don't see it being done because it's very easy. Winner
Move
gets
Florida.
this slot,
Yeah.
loser
Switch
gets
them.
that
I know,
slot.
yeah.
It's not like where we're going to have to change lines and everything else. It's one. I don't think it's over. I think if they win, they get it.
If Florida loses, the only way I see they would still get the number 1 seed would be the eye test. They look like a better basketball team, I would think, in the committee's eyes.
Well, their metrics are better in just
Right.
about all of those
Right.
categories.
But I don't
But
go
those will
along with
change.
that.
But not
Well,
appreciably
see,
better.
what is that?
Well, I'm just saying what
I
I
bet
think
you
the
would if
committee, how they would justify it. We think this is a better basketball
Yeah, I
team.
think-
I
they
don't
go-
believe the metric. If the metric said Tennessee was better than Florida, I bet you'd have a better belief in the metric.
Yes, I think if Tennessee wins, they should be a number 1.
Do you think they will get it?
Oh, think they will
Do you
get
think
it?
they will get it if they win today?
No,
Okay, why?
because I'm guessing.
I
I mean, I don't know because I went to bed last night reading Lenardi and him saying there ain't no way,
Yeah.
and then you get up this morning and it's changed a little bit.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it is just flip a coin and pick one.
And
Yeah.
if you don't, it may be better if you don't. Let's remember
Oh, I mean,
that.
I think it is.
Yeah, let's
better if
remember
you
it
do.
may
I'd
be
rather
better
have
if
the
you're a
two.
2, right.
I'd rather have the 2 from
Exactly.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I think you can still get it. I think that it is up for grabs because it is such an easy flip.
And it should be.
I just
I
think
mean, that's
that's-
exactly what it should be.
Winner gets this
Winner
one,
gets
loser
it,
gets that one.
Loser gets 2. I think that's
That's what I
exactly
think
what
it
it
should
ought to
be,
be.
too.
I think it probably will.
But that
We'll
would be
see.
the first question. How do you explain
Okay.
Tennessee beats Florida? Florida still gets the number 1 when they are
I
interviewing
guarantee-
the
but I-
committee chair.
Yes, but I guarantee you if we went back through history, there were 15 times where Carolina's beaten Duke 2 out of 3, and Duke got the 1 seed, Carolina got the 2, and vice versa. I guarantee you.
I'll take under 15.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I don't believe in your metrics. When we come back, if UT fails to get a number 1 seed, would they have been better off losing and just getting the rest? Oh, that's part of our poll question. We'll see what we think here. Come on back. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. We've already sprung forward. That means it's time to start thinking about termite inspections, termite treatments. Time to start thinking about mosquito treatments. When you think about any of those, you think about Southeast Termite and Pest Control. At least I do, because I've been using these guys for years and years and years, just like East Tennesseans. They go all over this region, and folks, they've been doing it since 1971. That's old. You know how I know that? 'Cause I was born in 1971. I'm old. SoutheastTermite.com to learn more. The Haynes family does a great job. Good locally owned, family owned business. Get in touch with them about your home or your business this week. Okay, we've got to be quick in this segment. The Vols didn't get any extra rest. We talked about it last week. Mark Pankratz wanted the extra rest. I wanted the extra rest, so I'm not going to stop beating this drum. They beat Texas. Won a dogfight against Auburn. Now they're in the final against Florida. Bob, if they lose today or if they win, and like you and Will think, they win and don't get the 1 seed anyway, would they have been better off losing and getting an extra 24 or 48 hours of
I
rest?
think they'd have been better off losing even if they get the number 1.
Even if they get the number 1. Okay.
I didn't want Tennessee to beat Texas. I didn't want them to beat Auburn. Might as well beat Florida now because you got to play
gotta
them.
play it either way.
I wanted the rest for a team that doesn't go really deep, and so you've taken 48 hours of these guys sitting on the couch, laying around watching basketball instead of playing. I think it could have an impact. Plus, if Tennessee loses before the Elite Eight, and they beat Florida today, and then they lose in the Elite Eight, come back in September and start asking people how important this thing was. I mean, the SEC championship is great right up until you lose in the NCAA tournament. I would have taken the rest all the way back to Friday.
If they don't get the 1, would they have been better off losing earlier?
No, I don't think so. I don't think you're getting enough rest. You're getting 4 days. I mean, so at the end of the day, you're getting enough rest that you should be able to go play. Especially you're playing 3 days in a row. You're going to play every other day, and then you're off again for 4 days. No, I think you're fine.
You play to win the game. I mean, that's how I look at it, and that's what I heard some of the assistant coaches saying, and I believe them. If you lose in your first game SEC tournament, you lose to Texas, your old school, for the first time since you left there,
Okay,
right?
right.
All right. So no, then
Which
you would
is
have lost
perfectly meaningless when the
no,
tournament
they
starts.
mean a lot. Then you would have lost to Bruce Pearl. You would rather lose to Bruce Pearl and get some rest? Heck no,
yes.
I want to win the game.
Yes, I want to win the
I want to win the
NCAA
game.
tournament.
I want to win. You can
Jimmy?
rest later.
If they don't get the one, will it have been a waste?
I'm going to hesitate and say yes. I don't have a lot of information that says if you played in your tournament championship game, then you lost in the NCAA.
Ah.
Do you
Well,
have
let me give
information?
you a little something.
That's what I
How
want
about
to
a little
know.
graphic here? Let's see how the past few
Can't count UConn in 2011.
Let's see how the SEC tournament champions have done the last
All right.
6 years. All right, last year the SEC tournament champion out in the first round to Yale. That was Auburn. Alabama 2 years ago was out in the Sweet 16. Tennessee out in the second round. Alabama out in the Sweet 16. You got to go back 5 seasons pre-COVID when Auburn got hot at the end of the year, won the SEC tournament, made the Final Four. They were hitting every shot they threw up, shooting 1,000,000 threes. In 2018, out in the Sweet 16. So 5 of the last 6 years, your SEC tournament champion has been home at the Sweet 16 level or earlier.
And I want to say, you wouldn't tell me that before the show
No.
because we were talking about it. You would not tell me because I have felt this way for weeks. I just think the rest is more important. And I mean, I may end up being completely wrong, but I just think this team could have backed off a little bit and been better off.
There are examples both ways. The UConn team that was kind of so-so and then got hot and went on a run. Syracuse did that one year where they just won 11 straight games. They were mildly above 500. They get it, and then they go nuts in their own tournament and then win the NCAA tournament. It happens, but I just think that's interesting. You look, how much did it help Auburn last year when they go and then lose to Yale?
But here's the other part of why I said I hesitate, but I'm going to say I'm agreeing with the rest because I'm not fond of Tennessee's depth. I just, and I like Gainey. Phillips has had some good games and not so good games. You're not getting much out of the backup point guard in Boswell. And then Dubar, sometimes he shows up, sometimes he doesn't. I think the lack of depth would serve this team better to have more rest.
Okay, very good. I don't know if you're hearing this. I see guys walking around, so maybe you are hearing it. We're certainly hearing it here. There is a lot of wind outside, and there is an awning that is clapping, flapping just outside the door. If you're not hearing it, then I'm just referring to nothing. And man, it's great. But if you are hearing it, that's what the noise is. It's not interference. It's nothing wrong with your television. It's just windy out there. All right. When we come back, what are the keys to Tennessee making a long run to the Elite Eight or Final Four? That's next. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Madisonville Marine. Folks, March 31st is quickly approaching, and that's when these deals end. But until then, listen to these deals. Yamaha Motors, free 2-year extended warranty if purchased by March 31st. G3 Suncatcher Pontoons, rebates up to $2,500 off. G3 John Boats and Bass Boats, rebates up to $2,000 off. How about this one? Skeeter Bass Boats. Skeeter was the first bass boat. They know what they're doing. Skeeter Bass Boats, rebates up to $4,000 if you purchase before March 31st. Beware whatever the 31st of March is, because that's the end of the deal. It's not the Ides. We're past the Ides. Madisonville Marine, no better place to buy a boat. All right, let's see what the poll's looking like now. Is this okay? We've gotten a few people to get in there and say it's wasted energy. Bob, you'll be happy. 15% say it's wasted energy if they don't get the 1 seed. What are your thoughts on UT reaching the SEC final? 21%, it's gone up, say that the SEC tournament is important. Those people will not say that as soon as Tennessee loses in the NCAA tournament. Next, always good to beat Bruce Pearl. That's 64%. All right, keep playing. Keep clicking for us. All right, very quickly, we don't know UT seed or their draw. I'm just going to ask you, Will, I'll start with you. If Tennessee's team makes a deep run, what will the keys be?
The keys will be they shot well. I think the defense is going to be good enough. You have to shoot, but you have to shoot. They can shoot 23%. You can't be doing that. You have to be shooting above 30% from beyond the arc. You have to limit the number of threes that you take. You have to play in space more on the offensive end. We watched it again yesterday. Tennessee has a lead. They start slowing it down offensively in the half court, and Tennessee's lead goes away. I mean, how many times do we have to watch that movie before we know the end of it? To me, you have to continue to be aggressive on the offensive end. Your defense is going to be good enough, and you can't have one of those nights where you shot 31 threes and shot 22% beyond the arc.
I say you got to work it into the paint. If it turns into they're just settling for perimeter crap,
you're done.
And it's
Agreed.
all along the outside, that ain't
Ball
gonna be
side
good
to
for
side,
them.
take a bad three.
That will not be good for them. So they got to get their feet into the paint at some point.
Can I have 2 quick keys? One is turnovers, and some of them are like, how did that happen? We saw two or three of those against Auburn. Tennessee had 6 turnovers in the first half yesterday against Auburn. That was 9 Auburn points. You got to do a better job taking care of the basketball, especially at tournament time. I look at this team, guys, and I think it's going to go almost as far as Chaz Lanier can take them. I mean, yesterday he had 10 points in the first 10 minutes, and then he finishes with 12.
Yeah.
But that's the lift, and it's not just shooting. He's doing more moving and doing other things. But to me, he is the key to this team making a deeper run.
Had a terrific first half against Texas.
Exactly,
as well.
exactly.
Jimmy, what's key to this team if it makes a big run? Why?
Free throw shooting. It beat Auburn. You're going to have a lot of close games probably. You're going to have situations where you better score at the foul line if having the opportunity. And so, now I don't see him going 25 for 27.
Right, yeah.
But just make your free throws, make it about 80% of your free throws. I think that'd be huge.
If Alabama doesn't shoot so poorly from the line when they come to Knoxville a couple of weeks ago, they beat Tennessee here.
Yeah.
So free throw shooting huge in tournament play. Bob, is there another key?
I'm right in there with Jimmy. I think Tennessee's defense will keep games close, and since the games are going to be close, and I also agree you're not going to go 25 out of 27, but they've had some games in the past 3 or 4 weeks where they haven't shot free throws well, and that made the games closer than they needed to be. Tennessee still won. So I'm going to go with Jimmy. I think your defense will keep you close.
Didn't Sankey tell them, Jimmy, that the games are going to be called differently in the NCAA tournament?
Yes.
How are the games going to be called? That may trump almost everything.
Tighter. He said they're going to be called tighter. So he's told the coaches, y'all need to be mindful of this and not play as aggressively.
Yeah,
that's what he said on the air.
I know.
He needs to hush.
And I heard that and I thought, well, okay.
Yeah, he
you
also,
call it one way in the regular season.
I know. Then you play different.
Yeah.
We'll get to him later. All right. Well, we were almost back on time, Chuck. Now we're a minute over again. When we come back, let's talk football for a minute. We get back to basketball. Boo Carter was going to be given a shot on offense. How's he doing with that shot on offense? We'll tell you. Come on back. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Hearthside Bank. Hearthside Bank, full-service bank with locations all over southeastern Kentucky, all over East Tennessee. That's personal banking, that's business banking, that's financial planning, everything you'd expect from a bank made for the 21st century. They do it all. Plus, they do it all plus. And the plus is they promise to work hard, hand in hand with you, to help you lay out your financial goals and then help you reach those financial goals. It is a personal relationship when you bank with Hearthside Bank. Visit them at the Farragut location here in Knoxville or anywhere up and down between here and southeast Kentucky. You can see them. Hearthsidebank.com to learn more about some really, really good folks. All right, early this offseason, word got out that Boo Carter wanted to play a little offense this year. Now it sounds like he's really shown the staff a little bit of something. I thought he may be used as a receiver 4 or 5 times a game, 4 or 5 plays. And as long as he's not just, as long as you mix in a decoy occasionally and it's not just every time he's in you give him the ball, which kind of negates the whole purpose. If the other team's going, he's in, that's not good. Now it sounds like he may be doing something more than just 4 or 5 plays. Is this a great thing for Tennessee that you got this guy who can play a little bit of both ways? Or is it a bad thing, the fact that you have a spot for him to do this?
You don't have playmakers. This is a very good thing. So if Boo Carter can become a playmaker or be a guy that's in rotation at least, that helps out. Because right now you're deficient in the number of receivers that you have. You may not love the receivers that you have right now that if they catch a ball underneath, they can make a play after that. You haven't had a Bayless Jones in a while. You haven't had that can catch the wide receiver screen and turn a 5-yard gain into a 12-yard gain.
Can you take a 20-yard gain 50?
Yeah, those are the things you haven't had.
See, and I think that could be a bad thing, too. The fact that you're having to convert a defensive back to use him that way. I'm all for it. We when we brought it up months ago. I'm all for it, but I'm concerned that it's year 5 and you're needing to do this with your offense. Bob.
I'm going to go with it. It's a good thing because last year Boo Carter jumped out at me as one of those Alabama, Georgia kind of athletes. So I think it could be because of what you're talking about. We don't have the guys and we got to do something. Or it could be this kid could end up being very special.
It could be both.
And so we're going to use him that way. So I think it's smart. I'm not concerned yet.
I like it. I think it's
Yeah.
smart. I'm not suggesting it's not smart. I like that. I'm just saying
Well,
that
it's
it concerns
kinda-
me that
You don't want it to be desperation.
It'd be nice if we can't play over there because we got 3 All-Americans.
Right.
We don't have room
But you
for
don't have that. And it's been in his DNA, right? In high school, I mean, he was known as a two-way star. I wouldn't have him returning punts still at Tennessee, I'd tell you that. Who do you have that's going to be able to play in the secondary? I would wonder that maybe first of all.
Well, I mean, he's still going to be over there. It's
Yeah.
just how much, is he thinking he's going to be Travis Hunter?
Yeah,
Or is
see,
he-
that's
picturing
what I would wonder.
I was picturing a Charles Woodson type of role where 4 or 5 plays a game. This sounds like maybe he'll get more than that. Your thoughts, Jimmy, on what the fact that it sounds like he's impressing over there?
Well, I think it's a good thing because if he couldn't contribute there, back kind of to your point, then what do you get out of the wide receivers? Yeah. So I think it's sort of needed that he can be a playmaker because you don't have very many. So I think it's good that he has the ability to do that and perhaps be a guy that can make a difference in a game with a couple of plays.
And maybe it brings some much-needed competition to that position at wide receiver.
I'd still have him returning punts too. Until Tennessee gets better, I want every athlete I got that can make a play making a play.
And also the era of NIL, I hate to say it, everybody's for a limited time only, so drive it like they stole it. You know what I mean? Like it's like a rented car. That's how you have to look at guys. And you know what I mean? Like he moved around in high school too.
Yep.
I would just use him at every snap I possibly could that helps me win games.
Yeah, that was probably bad questioning on my part. There's no negative to it. The negative, it's positive that he's looking good. The negative to me is the fact that you're having to use him.
Yeah.
That doesn't cancel out the positive. It's wise to use him. It's good that he's looking good. What I'm saying is it's disappointing that it's year 5. You were supposed to have all these great receivers, and now we're saying, well, Boo Carter's pretty good. Let's bring him over. Maybe he's just so scintillating that it's like, well, we got to do it. We've got good, but he's better.
Has been
What if he's one of your top 3 receivers? How do you not give him the
Best
chance to
receiving
play
corner.
receiver? Yeah.
I was reading that again this week. They're already starting that again, that this receiving room is going to be so much better than people think. It's like, I keep hearing this year after year. One of these
but here's
years
the
it better
deal.
be.
It could be a lot better than I think because right now I don't think it's all that good.
When we come back, new offensive line, new starting running back. Will Tennessee's rush offense see a drop-off this fall, or is 200 yards a game rushing just baked into what Josh Heupel does with this offense? That's our question next. We'll get back to basketball in just a minute. Come on back. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Safety Systems. Cameras throughout your house, doorbell cams, cameras and lights and locks that you can control and monitor from your smartphone or your tablet. Folks, when you travel, get peace of mind. Have VFL JJ Surlis and his team install top flight's affordable security system in your home. Have the cameras, have the locks, have the lights, have it all on your phone when you go, on your tablet when you go. I was sitting in Columbus, Ohio a few weeks ago and was able to look at the house. Boom, boom, boom. I know my house is safe because of Safety Systems. SafetySystems.com to learn more. All right, let's take a look at the poll results. How did those wind up? It's always good to beat Bruce. Wound up at 62, so it dropped quite a bit, but that's number one. That's your winner. Next, SEC tourney is important. That has grown throughout the show, so no one has listened to me. And then wasted energy, if not a number one, that's grown as well. But the winner, always good to beat Bruce. Thanks for playing along. We always appreciate that. Since Josh Heupel arrived at Tennessee, the Vols have averaged no less than 199 yards rushing per game, and the year they got 199 was 2022 when they were throwing the ball all over the place. So that was your low water mark, was 199. They're always over 200 yards. This year, you've got a rebuilt offensive line, new starting running back. Do you expect the Vols to rush for fewer than 199 yards per game this year, Jimmy? Or is this just what his offense does? It's baked in. It's like the wishbone. You're getting your 200.
It's going to be less. It's going to be less than 199. You're losing 4 starters on the offensive line. How many newcomers in the starting lineup on the offensive line have been productive? Whether they came from promotion, whether they came from Miami or LSU. I don't see this offensive line being very good right now. And then on top of that, you have Dylan Sampson, who was a special running back.
Who had one of the greatest years in Tennessee history last year.
Set a record. So when you take those two elements into consideration, I don't see Tennessee averaging that many yards rushing. unless against their 4 non-conference opponents, they average 350 yards a game.
And then when you throw that
and then
out
it
the
skews
window.
the SEC number.
Exactly.
Oh, but
So-
they're playing some really good teams.
Yeah, this year, right. Yeah.
Syracuse would be a
ETSU.
well. They got
I
Syracuse.
know, they do have Syracuse.
So
I think
anyway,
they stuck
yeah,
to the
it'll be
schedule.
less
Yeah.
than 199.
I think they'll be lucky to average 175. And just like you said, you're replacing a running back that you basically ran into the ground, and he finally ran out of juice or whatever in the Vanderbilt game when he got injured. And the Duke transfer gives you a little bit of hope for what you're going to have there. But no, the offensive line, especially at center, who's going to be your center? Who's going to be your quarterback up there?
I think
I think they do it.
they'll be in the ballpark as well.
I
agree.
think they'll get it done. And the reason, at some point, I keep projecting they won't do something, and then Heupel overshoots my projection. I won't give him credit. I'm going to say that he'll figure it out, and they also run the ball a ton. So my guess is they will be right at 200 or higher again.
I think they'll go back to tempo because otherwise, I mean, for gosh
they need
sakes,
to.
you don't have the defense you had last year. You need
Yeah.
to go tempo. If Nico can't run that, why are you paying him? You know what I mean? If that's what your problem is, I think they go back tempo. I think it's over 80 plays a game. I think Nico will run more
I was
because they're
about
in
to
tempo.
say, will they run
and I
Nico
think they'll
more?
get somewhere in that ballpark this year at least.
Yeah. I'm going to go with it'll go down a little bit because I thought last year your offensive line wasn't great. May not be great this year. Who knows? But I thought Dylan Sampson really, really plastered over a lot of the issues you had with your offensive line. I don't see him on the roster. So I'm going to go it'll come down some. And I think Chuck could be right. I think you could be between that 175, 200.
And I don't
mark.
care about the non-conference games. I want to see what the
No, I
number
don't
is
either.
in SEC.
Well, yeah, but okay.
Yeah.
Well, I
I'm
didn't
not going to
look
be
that up,
impressed
so-
by a good game against Kent State.
199 and 200 was much easier than saying, no, against conference foes only. All right, when we come back, how many SEC teams will get in the NCAA tournament today? And should Rick Barnes have done more politicking when he was given a chance yesterday? Come on back on the Sports Source. Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Games and Things. March Madness is here, and we told you a little earlier they're going to be presenting you with a Tennessee bracket breakdown you can find on the Sports Source Digital Network on YouTube starting tomorrow. But Games and Things, folks, get yourself home theater seats. Get yourself home theater seats right now. They've got a selection that you will not believe. You can get down there, try them all out. Ooh, this is comfortable. Ooh, this one has a place for my laptop. Ooh, this one does this. This one does that. It's like sitting on the bridge of the Starship Enterprise. They're going to have to shoo you out of their showroom. It's so spectacular. Games and Things, because life should be fun. Their home theater seats will make your sports viewing and movie viewing much more fun. OurGameRoom.com if you can't make it to the showroom. All right. Joe Lunardi had Texas in and then out of the field this weekend. Greg Sankey campaigned for 14 teams in his usual very braggadocious, over-the-top way day before yesterday. And what we're doing is just unprecedented. It's insane. It's ridiculous we don't get 14. He's cocky. Still, it looks like only 13 are going to get ticketed for the tournament right now. How many teams in the SEC deserve a bid? Can you honestly, there's 16 teams. Do you honestly think 13 of them deserve a bid?
I'm going to take 12, maybe.
I would say
maybe
10. I don't think Oklahoma's won a third of their conference games. Vandy's not that good. Georgia's not that good. Give me 10. The bubble, there aren't a lot of strong mid-major teams this year. I can think of 3 that I would throw in. Another Mountain West, another MAC, another A10 team in Dayton. But I would think 10 would be a good number. But I think this is, let's make sure we keep the baby happy so that he doesn't blow up the NCAA tournament for everybody and he gets how many ever units he needs for money. And that's what's happening with Greg Sankey right now.
I would look at the SEC and I would say if you're not above 500 or better in conference play, you're not in the NCAA tournament. So right now I can't tell you how many guys that is. I wouldn't count, if you won the SEC, yeah, you get your automatic bid. But when the regular season ends, if you want in 500 or better, if you can't win half your conference games, you don't need to.
Yeah, but then if you're boasting you're the toughest league in the country, you won 89% of your non-conference games. You got that splashed on courtside at the SEC tournament, the most in 4 decades. Even if you're 2 games under 500 in the SEC, I disagree with Will. Vanderbilt's a decent basketball team.
Okay. But
I think it's 10.
Okay.
Do you think it's 10 as
That
well?
I think deserve it. I just looked at my list. I've got 10.
It's just hard for me to say that 13 in any league get in there.
Yeah.
I'm with Bob. Texas is 6-12 in the SEC.
Yeah.
So you look at it and you say, but they've got 6 quad 1 wins. I don't care. 6-12 should matter. Now, it should also be a sliding scale. if I understand you saying 500, I would be willing to say 2 games under
Right.
500
Yeah.
if you're unbeaten in your non-conference. Texas lost 3 non-conference games on top of being 6 and
Right.
12 in the SEC. They're 19 and 15 overall. What are we talking about? That shouldn't be even considered. I'm sorry. And if you don't like that, maybe you shouldn't get in a 45-team tournament or a 45-team conference. So, no, I'm not a fan of it. Should Rick Barnes have said he was given the chance yesterday after the game? He wasn't Greg Sankey. Greg Sankey would have said, yes, we belong in because of this and that and this metric. They asked Rick Barnes, do you have a message for the selection committee? And he said, I don't think they're listening. I think they're sequestered somewhere. And I'll be honest, I agree. Good for him. They're not going to sit there. And I don't think the committee, with all this data, is sitting there and they're going, well, I don't know about what? What did Barnes just say? I hadn't thought of that. Number 1 seed. I think he's right.
Well,
Just
in
show
the
some class,
post
move
game,
on.
the Florida coach did campaign
Yeah.
for a number 1 seed.
Yeah.
I
And if
preferred
he
the way
gets it-
Barnes handled it.
And if he gets it today, we'll know that was the difference.
That was the difference maker.
Yeah, they said, well, if Barnes had wooed us, we'd have been okay. Seriously, should Barnes have taken the shot?
When was the last time Rick Barnes kind of blew his own whistle, talked about how great or whatever? To me, he lets their play speak for him, and he doesn't go out there as like a bodybuilder flexing his muscles.
Agreed,
But I don't
should he
think
have?
what
You
he-
give him the
No, I
opportunity.
don't. I think he hit it on nail on the head. It doesn't matter what I say, really. They're not listening to me.
Yeah, I
Our
agree
body
with
of
Barnes.
work. Our body
I
of
agree
work's
with
what
Barnes.
matters.
Yeah, they don't care,
Right.
and so he should not waste his breath. That to me, Todd Golden, that was a politicking move about his fan base because he had a bit of a scandal earlier in the year, and he probably could use all the goodwill he can get from the fan base.
All right, let me ask you this one, too. This is a side note. This is not Bruce Pearl wins Coach of the Year. I get it. They won. Everybody thought they would win. Weren't they preseason favorite? Florida was not. Florida was picked for 6th. They're winding up with probably a real good shot at a 1 seed. If they don't get it, they're going to be the best number 2 seed. I'm sorry. To me, and I get it, the coaching job includes building the roster and recruiting and everything else. To me, the coaching job is who does the most with the talent he's got. And I think Golden should have been Coach of the Year. No knock to Bruce Pearl. It was a heck of a job going wire to wire this year. But if you got a team picked for 6th and you do what he did, I think that's a better coaching job than the other guy who was supposed to do what he did.
No, I thought Todd Golden on court was the best coach in the SEC this year on court. So, but I do think it matters so much more as far as how much money you're raising in NIL, keeping your players there, bringing other players in, getting freshmen, not having scandals off the floor in the middle of the season. Those are also things I think that go into being the SEC.
The reason
coach
I
of the
would
year.
disagree is Auburn was so dominant for the whole season, and they were ranked number 1.
Florida was pretty dominant,
they were,
too,
I
out
know,
here.
but they were ranked
Unexpectedly.
number 1 in the country for that long stretch after beating Tennessee. So I would vote for Bruce Pearl. I think his team did, won the most games, won the championship.
Well, if that's the case, then stop having the award. Just
Well,
give.
then
There's
that's
an award
fine
that
with-
goes-
that's fine with me, too.
Okay, there's just an award that goes with you win the championship.
Championship,
So
you're
you're the Coach of the Year. Okay,
Okay.
well, then there's
What do you say, Jim?
no point
Pearl.
voting.
No, I went with Pearl because they were dominant, and my debate was Pearl and Golden because I thought Florida did a great job, and to me it was a very difficult decision to make. I don't put as much stock in. Well, they were picked 6. Well, by whom? Okay, did they really know what they were talking about when they picked them 6? So, but just watching those teams, I thought Auburn was the most dominant team in the SEC, and they won the best league in the country.
Yep.
You know, I thought Golden should have gotten it, but I think you could even make a case that Rick Barnes should have been in the conversation based on the fact that he had a number 2 seed last year, gets blown up, and he's back with at least a number 2 seed this year. I mean, that's pretty impressive. But that said, I would have given it to Golden.
All right. When we come back, how far will the Vols? I'm just not in on whoever wins the championship.
Well, it's not
gets the
just
trophy.
who. They were dominant. It wasn't like
They
it
were
was
dominant.
nip and
Yeah,
tuck.
I'm not knocking him.
Well, they were
He's
until
up
they
there.
weren't, right? And then they've lost 3 or 4.
3 or 4. When we come back after they awarded the trophy, when we come back, how far will the Vols? How far will the Vols go in the big dance? Will they have a number 1 seed by 7:00 tonight? We'll make our predictions next. Welcome back into the Sports Source. Folks, we got a bracket special coming up on our Sports Source digital network for you. It's on YouTube tomorrow. Games and Things is bringing you that. We got a great big bracket wall. We're going to be talking about Tennessee's. It's all Tennessee. We're focusing 100% on Tennessee. So we're going to get together and watch the bracket procedure tonight. A bunch of us from the Sports Source will get that together, and that'll be on YouTube tomorrow. So it'll be just like the stuff ESPN does, except it's going to be all UT. That ain't bad. Check it out on the Sports Source Digital Network. And here's another way to follow us. You can follow us on our original Sports Source channel. That's where if you're out of town, if you miss the show, if the DVR cuts off, you can go there and catch this show every week on the original YouTube channel. That's the orange one. And then if you search Sports Source Digital Network, that's the black one, you get all that programming I told you about earlier in the show. All these new shows. I get so many people that email me, I wish your show was longer. Well, technically now it is. You can see us talking about a whole lot of stuff. Baseball, got the baseball show starting this week with 3 former UT baseball players. You can also follow us on Facebook. Just search Sports Source Digital Network. All right. When the bracket comes out tonight, will Tennessee have its first ever number 1 seed?
No.
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 Okay, I'll say yes.
I'd like to be the guy that said yes, but it's going to be hard to beat Florida.
Right.
And then it's 50-50 that the committee gives you the number 1. So I'll play the odds and say they won't.
That it's already been determined almost no matter what, and I think Florida's going to be really tough to beat today.
I think they're going to be tough to beat. But the other side of that is, I still think, looking at those projections,
Yeah.
I would take those over the number 1 seed that Florida's going to
Yes.
get
Exactly,
way out in San
that's what-
Francisco.
Yeah, I would too.
All right, without seeing their seed or their draw, what is the ceiling on this team? We got about 2-3 minutes here. What's the ceiling for this team? Is this? Let's do this first. What is the absolute floor? They're not losing to Montana or Wofford. Of course, Auburn would have said that last
Second
year about
round.
Yale.
Yeah.
Second round's the
Second
absolute floor. What's the realistic floor? Sweet 16?
I think Elite Eight. Oh, the floor. Sweet
Realistic
16.
floor.
No, I still think it's the second round's pretty realistic. It could happen. Not gonna happen, but
So
could.
St. Mary's could get them.
Yeah. Hit a bunch
Somebody
of
like you
numbers.
said
Somebody in the
before has a
conference.
really good shooting
Yeah.
night. You fall behind. Yeah, that type
I'll
of
go
thing.
that as a ceiling,
Yeah.
yeah.
And let me just preface
1
this.
and 1.
Technically, we could say for any team in the tournament,
Yes.
Right, exactly.
you could lose in the
Exactly.
first round,
Especially
you
this
could win
year.
the whole thing. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
But we're saying Tennessee more than likely floor second round.
Yes.
What's the ceiling? Could
I think they
win
could
a
win the whole thing.
You think they can win the national
I think they could
championship?
win the whole thing this year because that's a really down year in college basketball.
I don't think they have the depth, and I don't think they're a good
Right.
enough shooting team to do it. I don't think they can win it all. But I do think if they can compete with Auburn and Alabama and Florida as they have, they can hang
I'm
with anybody.
going to be right behind Will and say I think Final Four is the.
No,
is
he's
the
saying
seed.
they win it all.
I think they could
I
win
know
it
that's
all.
the reason I'm behind Will. I don't think they'll win it all. I think they can get to a Final Four. Though.
Okay, that's your ceiling, Final
Yes.
Four.
I'm going to play the odds and say that's never happened before. I would take the Elite Eight because it's really tough to get past that. Tennessee's never gone past that.
I think their ceiling is the Elite Eight.
I think that it really is. We're talking about the depth and then matchups. I think, yeah, the Elite Eight can pretty well get knocked out again.
My prediction would
No, we'll
be-
get there. I want to know the ceiling first. Don't give me your prediction yet.
Well, the ceiling's Final Four.
Okay, you think they can make a Final Four?
Because there's a difference in what my prediction is versus the ceiling.
Right.
Yes.
That's right. That's why I'm asking ceiling first.
Yeah.
Then I'm milking the time here. So right now we're idling. I think the ceiling as well is Final Four. I'll put them to Final Four. All right. Now, projection. Jimmy, how far are they going? What do you think?
Elite Eight.
Okay. Elite Eight. Is there a reason you think Elite Eight rather than Final Four?
I think Houston's a better team, and I don't think they'll get past Houston.
Okay.
I'm saying Elite Eight and kind of like the same way, and I'm going to go back to the depth. I think that's really going to get them. And this team has been played a much better start in the first half yesterday, but I think that's still something I'm not 100% sold on how they start their games. Playing at home, you can come back.
Yeah, I think Elite Eight because I don't know that they're going to get Houston. If they get Houston as the 1 seed, I think it's Final Four, but I'll say Elite Eight because I think Lenardi and Palm could be wrong.
Wow, I'm always negative. I'm going to say Sweet 16. And here's the reason. I think there's going to be a game where Tennessee's going to have to score 85. I don't know if they can. That's what worries me. So I'm going to go Sweet 16.
If they play Houston, it won't be that team.
Yeah.
In my prediction, we're out of time. I guess I won't have to make one. I won't have to be the bad guy this week. So, actually, no, we're out of time right there. We'll see you for our bracket projection show. I'll make a prediction there. That's Sports Source Digital Network tomorrow. Check it out, and we'll see you right back here next Sunday for the Sports Source. Thanks to all you and our sponsors.